Alright, well, Ron Walker sent me a link to the celebrity death match of Prince Charles versus Prince the Singer. And I found the episode and I watched it, and I found a lot of interesting things in this celebrity death match episode. So right away, I looked up the episode. It's episode 10, so it's in the first season even, the 10th episode. And I noticed it was called Battle of the Bulls. Now, all year I've been talking about how the NBA season has been connected to the Chicago Bulls, and I've been mentioning how there is a royalty Prince whatever theme, especially in regards to Prince Charles. And as you read through here, there's 3 fights in this episode. It's David Spade versus Steven Seagal, and David Spade even kills Steven Seagal by using Scottie Pippen's NBA championship ring. The next fight is Prince Charles versus Prince, and then Queen Elizabeth even helps Prince Charles. And then the last fight is Michael Jordan versus Dennis Rodman. And I mean, what are the odds that this episode came out on August 27th, 1998? Which just so happens to be the 239th day of the year. Right now we're in the 239th year of the United States. I mean, just goes to show how long ago this was all planned out and whatnot. But anyway, let's move on here. The first match was between David Spade and Steven Seagal. And since this episode came out in 1998, they still had, jokes about their older movies and whatnot. And David Spade, I've talked about him previously. Mostly I talked about Chris Farley, but he's got that connection with Chris Farley with Black Sheep and Tommy Boy. I mentioned Tommy Boy a whole lot because Tommy Boy is from Sandusky, Ohio, and there was the whole Penn State thing with Jerry Sandusky, and Nebraska, the Cornhuskers were the first team to play Penn State after that little scandal, or after Sandusky and Paterno got fired, or whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, he says Herbie Hancock, and Herbie is the Nebraska Cornhuskers mascot. There's a whole lot more to it, but it all connects back even to the slam dunk contest last year, where Zach LaVine was the Teen Wolf who won the slam dunk contest, and Andrew Wiggins won the Rising Star Challenge MVP. Andrew Wiggins even born on 2/23, just like Flip Saunders, and Flip Saunders announced his cancer on the 223rd day of the year. Like I'm telling you, there's a whole lot more to it. Moral of the story, I've talked about Tommy Boy a whole lot before. Even the guy from the movie Herbie the Love Bug, Dean Jones, died at the age of 84 on 9/1 last year, and I knew Nebraska was going to have a bad season. And then they even got let to have a bowl game, even though they had a horrible season. And they just so happened to play UCLA, where Zach LaVine and Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love are all from. Moral of the story, let's move on, sorry. Anyway, in the very beginning of Tommy Boy, he drops this book right in the opening scene, a minute 12 into the movie. It has 239 written on it, American History book. So you know that it's about this year, the 239th year of the United States. The flag was sewn by Betsy Ross at 239 Arch Street. Torah equals 239. It's the Jewish holy book where they talk about the return of the Messiah, who's going to return over the Golden Gate. Golden Gate equals 239 in Gematria. Golden State plays in right by the Golden Gate. They play in Oakland in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I mention that because the celebrity death match that came out on the 239th day of the year in 1998. Also, earlier in this year, we had Olivia Munn that was joking about the robot takeover, and she was referring to Judgment Day in Terminator 2, but she said August 27th instead of August 29th, like the movie says. But when she did that, it was at the Oscars that just so happened to be on the 239th day of the 239th year of the United States. And another thing, August 27th is a super significant day this year. Olivia Munn said she didn't know what year, but she said August 27th. This year, August 27th, just so happens to be Obama's 7th year, 7th month, and 7th day as being the president. And in Terminator 2, Skynet was activated on 8/4, which is Obama's birthday, but it didn't gain consciousness until 8/29, and that's when Judgment Day is. Also this year, 8/27 will be the 240th day of 2016, and will be in the 240th year of the United States. So also in the movie Black Sheep, the reason I even brought that one up is because it's about the rigged election, and then we have an election year this year and whatnot, so it just kind of seems interesting. David Spade is also, he was in one episode of the TV show called Hot in Cleveland, just so happened to be the 56th episode called Blowouts. Interesting, it came out on 6/6/2012. We've talked a lot about the 66 stuff and the 666, all kinds of stuff this year with it. LeBron equals 66, Charles equals 66. This is Hot in Cleveland, so interesting, the Republican National Convention this year is in Cleveland. I've also mentioned the 56 in regards to all kinds of stuff. Paris, France equals 56. ISIS equals 56, President equals 56, Charlie equals 56. That Flight 804 had 56 passengers on it, all kinds of 56 stuff with that. Made tons of videos in regards to it. Black Lives Matter equals 56, climate change 56. A super important number, the Declaration of Independence, signed by 56 signers in Philadelphia. The first one was John Hancock, who died at the age of 56. The last one was Charles Carroll III, who died 56 years after signing it, and he was the last person to die that signed it. David Spade, though, also in a TV show called Just Shoot Me, and we've been talking about the assassinations of some type of political figure, whether it's Obama, Donald Trump, they've been foreshadowing a lot of some type of big assassination. Just Shoot Me just sticks out a lot, especially in this episode when he blows a hole through Steven Seagal's forehead. But Steven Seagal also in a lot of movies like Marked for Death, Hard to Kill. Just kind of interesting. I remember the only movie that I ever seen him die in, too, was called Executive Decision, and it was when Air Force One got hijacked, and then he falls out of the plane and dies or whatever. It just stands out with all these missing planes and whatnot, and Obama's traveling all over the world. We've also had all these Amtrak derailments and whatnot, and Steven Seagal also in Under Siege 2, where the train gets hijacked and whatnot. So who knows? Just makes me wonder. But one of the bigger things that reminded me, Steven Seagal is also friends with Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia. Which sticks out, for one, because Dennis Rodman is also in this episode. Dennis Rodman, good friends with Kim Jong-un, right? So we got two famous people who are friends with political leaders from other countries that could potentially lead to some type of world war. Vladimir Putin in Gematria equals 168, just like Cleveland Cavaliers, just like Queen Elizabeth II. And it's kind of funny, too, because hard to kill and whatnot. Queen Elizabeth seems pretty hard to kill, right? Prince Charles would be the new king if she ever dies, but she's still kicking, so she's hard to kill. And even in this episode, she helps him out or whatever. She's still really strong, a lot stronger than him, and she even overcomes him trying to kill her at the end. After Prince Charles kills Prince the singer, he tries to kill his mom, and then she takes him over or whatever, she's hard to kill, so who knows? Who knows if that's what it means? That's the way I'm looking at it in my head, at least. Also, in regards to Dennis Rodman being friends with Kim Jong-un in Gematria equals 114. Just like World War, just like Holocaust, just like Pearl Harbor. We're in the 114th U.S. Congress. It's just something to think about. Rodman also born on May 13th, the day that YouTube kept showing me by giving my Prince videos, or every time I put up a Prince video, they would give my old video a copyright claim, and they had it completely coded to other things. A lot of it was leading back to May 13th or May 14th, or even the 165th day of the year, which could either be the 13th of June or the 14th of June, that I have talked about a whole lot as well. So just interesting that Rodman born on that date. I've mentioned it a whole lot. He also wore number 91 when he played for the Bulls, which is interesting because that number's surrounded by death and elimination in the past year that I've noticed. World War II even began on September 1st, 9/1. So who really knows, you know? Dennis Rodman? Who knows? People would believe it if he died of alcohol poisoning or something. Also, throughout the whole first fight of Spade and Seagal, they call him David and Goliath, which, if you do that in Gematria, it's 131, just like Prince Charles. So interesting, you know, we even have Prince Charles in this episode. So the second fight, then, of course, was Prince Charles versus Prince the Singer. And even the info that the announcers and whatnot gave before the fight was pretty fitting. Charles was trained by his mom, the Queen, and she was shown to be just absolutely tough, like I said. At the end, he tries to kill her, but she stops him. But he actually needs help to kill Prince, and his mom actually helps him kill Prince by throwing her crown into Prince's arm or whatever, and then Charles can smash him or whatever. But just interesting that he actually had to have his mom's help, because she's hard to kill, you know. But on his entrance, he rides in on a horse named Chestnut. Chestnut equals 38 in Gematria. Horse equals 65. Prince in Gematria equals 38, the small way, and 65, the big way. When they showed Prince training, they just showed him in a bedroom. You know, you're supposed to assume he's just having sex or whatever. But look at the door here. It's a purple 88. I mean, you see the 8s? I mean, it's pretty interesting. His death surrounded by 88. Purple in Gematria even equals 88. The referee, too. Right before these two guys fight, the referee is Mills Lane. And he says, you guys might be the princes, but I'm the king in the ring or whatever. So I thought that was interesting. This guy's also a real ref in real life who got famous on when Mike Tyson bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. And I keep mentioning how there's something connected to Mike Tyson. Tupac's mom just died. You remember Tupac died after going to the Mike Tyson fight. You even have 50 Cent saying he's broke, and he made fun of the autistic kid at the, or he made fun, not make fun. He's made fun of the autistic kid at the airport and whatnot. I made a video on that, and also I believe I made a blog post on that if you want to come read it, but there's just something interesting about Mike Tyson. And the reason 50 Cent, I said, was because Mike Tyson's bodyguard supposedly was the one who tried to kill 50 Cent, and he shot him 9 times with a 9mm. A lot more to that. Mills Lane, also from Savannah, Georgia. That is where the Chester, Pennsylvania Amtrak derailment was heading to this year. Savannah, Georgia. I even made a video I talked about Jordan McRae of the Cavs, who had set the D-League record for the most points in a game this year, and then it was broke by Russ Wilson, or I can't remember his name, hold on. It was actually Russ Smith, and he scored 65 points. Prince in Gematria equals 65. They both played for the D-League team that the 76ers are connected to, and they both lost in their games when they had the leading score to the team that was connected to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But, moral of the story, there was a lot of 65 connected in this story. So, even before Prince dies, it was all about Prince still. And Philadelphia equals 65. But I mentioned Jordan McRae here because he was the first one to do it. Pretty funny, too, I guess, as I was looking through here. His full name equals 57 in Gematria. Remember, Prince died at the age of 57. He also did it 57 days after McRae. Of course, 57 in Gematria also equals 131, just like championship, just like if you write out Prince Charles. Anyway, I guess I just wanted to point out the significance of Savannah, Georgia. I've talked about it before in regards to the NBA and whatnot. This Mills Lane is also on the TV show Judge Mills Lane. And in Gematria, that equals 144, a number associated with political assassination, among other things. But also Steven Seagal had the show called True Justice. And I talked about how there was a judge theme a while back with the death of Antonin Scalia, and also the Julie Kokorek, the lady who got shot in Texas outside of her home. So there's definitely a judge theme, so I don't know if this is part of it or what, but interesting. So like I said in this episode, Queen Elizabeth throws her crown and hits Prince right here, and they even mention that it was a crown of thorns, like Jesus wore the crown of thorns and whatnot. I found it interesting, if you look up crown of thorns and you scroll down way to the bottom here, they talk about iconography, and they even mention King Charles, like King Charles I, the guy who was executed in the English Civil War. That's what a cavalier is. It's someone who followed this guy. And it says, the image of the crown of thorns is often used symbolically to contrast with earthly monarchical crowns. And the symbolism of King Charles the Martyr, the executed English king, blah, 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 he put aside his earthly crown to take up the crown of thorns. So just pretty interesting, I guess, that they would even mention this guy in there. He's been a huge part of a lot of the coding this year. Anyway, when this episode came out, Queen Elizabeth was queen for 46 years, 6 months, 21 days. That's interesting because Prince William was born on 6/21. Also, if you go from April 21st, her birthday, or also the day that Prince the singer died, and you go to the day this episode came out, it's a span of 4 months and 6 days, which is also 128 days, a number I've talked about, connected to World War and also Philadelphia. Philadelphia became a state on a date numerology of 128. William Penn equals 128. What's interesting, it's 4 months, 6 days, also 46 years. Sacrifice equals 46. August 27th, also a significant day because it's 79 days before Prince Charles' 68th birthday. Murder equals 79. We just had the death of Bryce DeJean Jones or whatever, the Pelicans. Pelicans equals 79. But even more interesting from that day, if you go from Prince William's birthday to August 27th, a span of 67 days. Remember, Prince Charles is 67 years old right now. So, an interesting day, possibly a perfect day for him to be murdered or die or whatever. Who knows? But Prince William's, like I said, it's 67 days. Revelation equals 67. Blood sacrifice equals 67. Prince, the singer, was born on 6/7 and even died 67 days after Prince's protege Vanity, who died during Lupercalia. Also interesting, from Prince William's birthday to 8/27, a span of 2 months, 6 days. The Queen's anniversary is on 2/6. Queen in Gematria equals 26. She was born in 1926. When she became queen, she turned 26 years old that year. Her anniversary of her coronation is on 6/2, the mirror of 2/6. If you go from 2/6 to 8/27, a span of 6 months, 21 days. A lot like Prince William's birthday again. Anyway, the last match was Michael Jordan versus Dennis Rodman. Obviously, Michael Jordan's going to win, right? Michael Jordan stuffs a basketball into his mouth and then dribbles his head around and dunks him into a trash can. And that's how he wins. And, I didn't notice a whole lot of things, except for the fact that Dennis Rodman was the bad guy like usual, and Michael Jordan was just trying to advertise everything. So they were making a joke of Michael Jordan advertising to kids and trying to get them to buy all of his products and whatnot. And I mean, nothing really stuck out to me all that much with it. But I mean, the main point of all this episode, like I said, it completely connected to everything that I've talked about this year. The royalty theme, the Prince theme, the Chicago Bulls of 95, 96 and whatnot. Rodman even equals 65 in Gematria, just like Prince. So, I mean, once again, I don't know. I could totally see Rodman dying this year. Anyway, I thought it was also interesting that Celebrity Deathmatch in Gematria equals 182. If you read out back-to-back, a huge theme that I've been mentioning since the All-Star Week, in Jewish Gematria, it's also 182. Pretty interesting, I guess. I even talked about how back-to-back is connected to the Cleveland Cavaliers as well, not just the Warriors. Cleveland Cavaliers and Gematria equal 69, just like back-to-back. And when they made the NBA Finals, look at the headline. They had to throw in the back-to-back. I mean, it's super obvious. I can't believe lots of people just aren't picking up on it. They say back-to-back constantly in all of the games. But, just going to leave it at that. Just wanted to show this episode. When I saw that clip of Prince and Prince Charles and whatnot, I figured I'd watch the whole episode. Had a lot of interesting things in it. And just yet again, more connections to the Chicago Bulls and the Prince royalty theme. But anyway, have a good one.